And we are on the air. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to this week's episode of the Daytripper Photo Show. We've got a special guest tonight. Our good friend Glenn is with us tonight, and Glenn has been living the life, which is why the name of the show is Living the Life. I don't know. Do you think that's accurate there, Glenn? Are you living the life?
Yes, and I've gotten various names for it, Brian. I call it, practice for retirement, or I don't want to say early retirement because I'm certainly not there yet, but something along those lines is just to give us. It's a bucket list trip that we're not waiting until we retire to do,
which is the best time to do it. So. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. This is Glenn Hubbers. Welcome to the show officially. Glenn is going to be traveling all over the place in his RV. He's going to explain to us how this came to be, what all happened to get him to this point. As he just mentioned, it's not quite fully retired, but, it's enjoying it while you can, which is what we all should strive for. I think it's amazing. And the reason we wanted Glenn on the show was to give us this view of what it takes to just kind of make life changes and make it happen, and then get out there and start enjoying yourself. So Glenn's been through some crazy changes in the past year, or even longer. Longer than that. You've been building up to this for how long now?
Well, wow. It's been an ongoing thing since my wife and I started to travel together back in 2000, and after sitting in a restaurant in Cuba, we started talking about, we were drinking Spanish wine, which inspires a lot of things. And so if, drinking Spanish wine, we started talking about, we need to go to Spain to get more Spanish wine. Like, this is fantastic wine. And everything, I guess, evolved from there, because it took us 11 years from that date to find ourselves in restaurants in Spain, where we actually enjoyed the beer more than the wine, but that's another story. So yeah, we did a 6-week tour in Europe 4 years ago, and over the years we've always had this habit of talking about our next vacations. At any given time, I think we've had maybe 2 or 3 trips that we talk about. And we keep talking about them over dinner, over drinks, over, while we're driving, whenever, in order to develop the ideas and see what they become and what they turn into. So this year was going to be a trip to France for another month or so, until about, I don't know, last fall at some point. Christmas? Yeah, Molly's just talking to me over here. So,
well, if she wants to just pop on and say hello, she could always do that too.
Oh, you're welcome to hop on and say hello. So, anyway, around Christmas time, we started talking about this, and part of our concern with traveling a lot was we have our cat, and so we started talking about doing a trip in North America, and we had at various times talked about doing a driving tour, and could you rent a camper van, and how long could you reasonably go for, and all of these questions that came up. And then we thought, well, if you're going to rent a camper van for too long, you may as well buy it and sell it later, right? So all of these conversations morphed together, and when Molly had started school in September, she went to school to be a holistic nutritionist, which she's graduated now. So
cool.
We realized that she'd be finished school and I'd be finished the project I was working on around about the same time, the latter half of 2015. So we started talking about, well, would it be reasonable to get an RV and hit the road and do a little, sabbatical, as it were. So that became where we are. At some point, we've been heavily inspired by certain books that we've read. And one of them I wanted to mention because it's a photographer's book, is A Beautiful Anarchy by David Duchemin, which I highly recommend everybody. You can get it from his website, Craft and Vision. And that I have it under my bed. I totally need to start reading it again. but it's really an inspirational book about living life with intent, and just, you asked before the show, Brian, what's the big thing that makes you get from planning to actually doing, and you just need to decide.
Yeah.
And you need to make a decision and then commit to that decision, and you just start driving everything toward it.
We will talk about all that, though, in more detail, because there's a lot more involved than just deciding. I mean, you've got to make preparations, there's all this stuff, but we're going to get to that in just a sec. But before we do that, Phil, can you imagine doing this?
It's going to be awesome.
Have you ever done anything remotely like this, a big trip or anything like that?
Just kind of randomly planned and got in a camper van and
quit
everything.
Randomly.
And
certainly not random, but
no, but not nearly as exciting. It's always been something I've wanted to do, but the fiscal restraints prevent things like that. Like, I've always wanted to take like a week and go out to Newfoundland during the icebergs. And go out, live off of the hospitality of everyone else, and see how far I could actually get taking pictures of icebergs and whales. Now that there's such a thing as Airbnb, I think it's a little safer to do, so I might actually do it.
Oh, cool.
But that's always kind of been the most photography-based adventure that I've wanted to do, but I've never actually done it.
See, I've not either. My adventures are day trips, and that's one of the reasons I really love Daytripper, is I get to go on these little day adventures with really cool people and so on. So, and without it, I wouldn't have met Glenn or any of you guys. So I think that's pretty cool. Gabriel, what have you wanted to do or done anything remotely like this?
Oh, excuse me. Back in the day, before children and things like that, every now and then Trish and I would just kind of be sitting there on a Friday night, and it's like, let's go to Montreal for the weekend. And, 10 minutes later, we'd be on the road with a bunch of stuff, right? And those days are coming again. It's easier now with Jaden being 7. It's easier to do that. It's harder, when they're younger. So those days are coming up again. But throwing everything in an RV, I mean, that's one of the family trips that we really want to do, is drive across Canada. In an RV, and we've been talking about it, just the 3 of us, or there's another family who might get a larger RV and go as 2 families and split the cost. And we really, I just love that idea of having a house on wheels. You're up in the front driving, your wife's making a coffee in the back, or vice versa, and it's just, the kids are playing checkers, and then you swerve the thing and watch all the pieces go off, and they yell at you, and you're just laughing and laughing. So,
yeah, that'll be a very understanding family that you go with. I hope you have a great time.
Oh, trust me, they know me well. No, and that would be on my bucket list as well.
It is for sure for me.
Yeah.
Shelley and I have talked about it, eventually. And the kids thing, I mean, that's a good point. You guys have kids, Glenn? No? You don't have kids, do you?
Glenn's muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, I was muted.
My
our daughter is in her 4th year of university, so that's actually part of the trip. She goes to U of A out in Edmonton, and part of the trip is that as we head south and then west and then north again up the west coast, our plan is to be in Edmonton around June when she graduates.
Oh, that is awesome. Very cool.
So, and then we'll be back across the prairies and probably back in Ontario in July sometime.
Well, that's awesome. We're going to talk a lot more about your roots and where you've been, where you're going. Can't wait. But first, just want to remind everybody, if you're watching this right now, there's a few things that you should know. First of all, there's a Q&A part of our Hangout. So along the left side of this Hangout window, there's a little thing that says Q&A. If you click on that, you can write to us, you can chat, you can say, hi, I'm watching, and we'll roll you right into the conversation. So that's the whole point of this show, is make it a community event. If you guys have any questions for Glenn, any ideas or thoughts that you might want to share, places to go, hear what he has to say, and you want to bounce an idea off, please go right ahead, punch it in the Q&A, let us know what you're thinking. It'd be a lot of fun.
If you have any photograph requests, he is going to post his itinerary online, and you can get custom-made photos from him for $25 a shot.
We only make 10% of that, so you know, we can talk about that. So anyway, yeah, use the Q&A. Let us know what you're thinking, and also don't forget to like our YouTube channel, subscribe to the show, tell your friends that we're doing it because we love it. We have a great time every week meeting new people and talking about fun things. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I do want to also thank our sponsors of the show. Lenspan has always been there for us. Great group, and pretty much an essential tool, I think, for anybody who's into photography. At least a Lenspan, lens cloth, something like that. They're great products. And, of course, Jay Miller Real Estate. Jay hooked us up at the Photo Expo. It's awesome that he helped us out with that. And he's just a good guy. Like, he comes into our store all the time and buys camera stuff. He likes photography. Perfect match for our show. So thank you, Jay, for helping us. And recently, now this is something, Glenn, you might get a kick out of. I made the reference earlier that being in an RV is like traveling in a giant camera bag because everything has to have its place, right? So I've got this little guy right here, and you wouldn't think much of it until we crack this open and realize there is about, I don't know, $10,000 in camera gear or so in here. Sony lenses, Sony A7R Mark II, Sony A7S, a bunch of these action cams, awesome stuff, really great equipment, and Sony lent me this gear so I can shoot this movie that we shot. Both Phil and Gabe helped me out with that. It was a lot of fun. Lots more work to do on it, but just want to send a quick thank you to Sony Canada for, you know, helping out. It was really, really great. Awesome fun toys to play with, for sure.
I was hoping that was this week's giveaway bag, Brian.
Oh, yeah, no.
He did. It's only eligible for people in Canada.
Yeah, no, I like, you know, to live, and I would probably lack life if I were to do something like that. So, okay, so actually, Andrew's already said good evening, gentlemen. Hopefully my connection doesn't freeze again this week. Oh, you know, speaking of connections, I think it's funny that Glenn is in. I'm going to do Glenn, can I screen share that photo?
Yeah.
Cool. Glenn is in a really cool location. I gotta find it here. Here we go. Okay. And it's funny that even still, you're in the middle of this spot right here, and your video quality looks much better than Gabriel 2 or 3 weeks ago, with the high-speed internet and all the goodness that Gabriel had.
And one of you's in IT.
yeah, and that. So it's funny. How is the Wi-Fi so good there, Glenn?
Well, that's actually one of the bigger challenges in doing this is getting internet. So we have outfitted this trailer with a couple of things. First off, I put solar panels on it so that
nice.
The idea being that we could go off the grid camping. Which we haven't done much of yet, but there's some challenges there that I have to work out. I want to go back into a dealer for that system and ask a bunch of questions. I might need to add more batteries and such. But then if we get the power issues worked out, then our limitation will be how long our water tank will last and how long the wastewater storage tanks last.
Well,
right?
Those last as long as you don't feel like dumping them on the side of the road.
Exactly.
This is not a PG show necessarily, so I can say this, but one of my favorite quotes from any movie: "Shitter's full."
We just watched that last weekend. That was great.
Of course, 'tis the season.
In order to get around that, we also put in we took the toilet out that came native with the trailer, and we put in a composting toilet.
Oh, nice.
So that works a lot better to save us a lot of storage capacity for water, and it's just cleaner. And that's a disgusting thing to have to deal with. So
the composting toilet?
Yeah. No, that's easy. It's the regular one where you got to deal with dumping it. That's the problem.
Yeah,
so.
you attach the hose and hook the hose up to a hole in the ground that smells so pleasant.
So at any rate, Brian, you asked about Wi-Fi, and based on the various places we go, some places will have Wi-Fi, some won't. Some will be, better quality than others. This park isn't too bad. One of the things I got for the trailer is a device called a Wi-Fi Ranger, And so what that does is it puts an antenna up, and that I attach to the TV antenna that you crank up in the trailer, and it will pick up a Wi-Fi signal like a mile away.
Nice.
And so you can scan with that. The beauty of that is that, we have our iPhones and we both have our laptops and the iPad and that kind of stuff, and the Apple TV connected to our TV for watching Netflix and I can have all of those just connecting to the local Wi-Fi within the trailer, and then I just go to a web-based control panel to try to sync to whatever Wi-Fi signal I can find. The other thing it'll do is you can plug in a hotspot device and have this router balance the traffic flow between whatever Wi-Fi you have and your cellular.
So why is it so important? Like, I know why. I'm kind of baiting the question here a little bit, but I mean, you're doing this trip for photography, right?
That's one
Among
of our
other
primary things. Yeah.
But you're also doing a whole blog and an update about what you're doing too, right?
Yeah. So we have our blog and we have our various social media presences. In addition, I'm also still an apprentice in the Arcanum, and I'm trying to move that along. So I've got a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of resources there and online videos. It's just so much about life, about this kind of life, is lived online, and although it's a fine balance between needing to do a certain amount of online work and just wanting to get it outside because it's cool out there.
Yeah.
You need to take advantage of the bad weather days and night times to do a lot of your online work, so that you can be out during the day in the nice weather.
Yeah, absolutely. Great ideas, and it's good that you planned ahead for that. So, okay, so the title of the show is "Living the Life." Is it living the life? Is it really? Are you having such a good time? Like, you
don't say yes.
Trials.
Don't say yes. Don't say yes.
Some trials and tribulations had to occur. So
sorry, I'm chopping up a little bit here, Brian. I missed.
Oh,
that
okay,
question.
Sorry. Okay, so basically, the story is living the life, and we all think that just selling the farm and grabbing the wife and jumping in the RV and taking off with your camera. I mean, come on, how cool is that? But where have the troubles been? There has to have been troubles. Aside from the fact that, you guys were kind of living on your own for a long time, and now you're in close quarters, so that's got to be tough for somebody. And then, of course, there's mechanical issues and other things. Like, give us a synopsis, basically, of all of that.
Okay, so I'll give you a few highlights of things that have happened in the 18 days we've been on the road so far. So the first night we got as far as the New York-Pennsylvania border, and we were tired of driving. The cat at that point was traveling in a crate, and we felt sorry for him, so we found a little park. It was getting near dark, right near the New York-Pennsylvania border on the shore of Lake Erie. And they let us stay even though they were closed for the season. So we parked the trailer. We had no water on board. So we had to take off into this little town to get some food and some drinking water. Fortunately, we could stay in this park even though they were closed, and we had power to hook up to. And we do have a propane furnace in here to stay warm, so we were good.
Nice.
But we woke up because of this winter storm that came in off of Lake Erie, and the trailer was actually physically moving with all of the wind. So that was a fun night. And remember in all of this that my wife had a cold. And as we were coming south, the cold just kept getting worse and worse. So that was the first night. Second night, we made it down to West Virginia, a little place called Summersville, and we pulled into this park. And they had power and water for us, which was great, except that the temperature fell to about -6 overnight. That's Celsius. And in the morning, I had to go out with Molly's hairdryer and thaw out the hose fitting so I could unscrew it and then take it into the trailer. And I was like thawing it out more and shaking it out to get all these little cylindrical pieces of ice to come out of the hose. So an hour later, we finally had running water. And we were able to put some water in the tank and hit the road and keep going. Third night, we were in a truck stop off the highway in North Carolina somewhere. It was just tired of driving, pull over here, have our dinner, and go to sleep. I think we watched a DVD or something. And then by the fourth night, we got down as far as Myrtle Beach and then beyond, and found a little recreation area where we ended up spending 3 days. So that recreation area did not have any Wi-Fi. And but it was, again, we were trying to get over our colds, and we just needed to stop.
Right.
We found this little park, and they had power and water, so we were able to, just slow down and take a breath and say, okay, now we have to get used to living in this home on wheels, and sorting through things and doing all those organizational things that come along with. So, is it living the life? Well, sure it is. But life is full of challenges, so there's challenges along the way, and you got to figure out what you're doing.
Perfect.
We've had a couple of close calls where, go to turn a corner and realized, yeah, we're not going to make it through there, and have to kind of stop and back up and go the other way.
Oh, man, that would freak me out. I remember my father has always driven a Dodge Maxi van, those big, huge, extended. And he could back that thing into anything. He was just like a master, and it just freaked me out every time. He's like, "Oh, I know what's going on." How could you possibly? How long is this RV that you're in? With the trailer, like the trailer, driving the truck, the whole thing. What are you talking about?
Well, the trailer is 30 feet tip to tip, and when I say tip to tip, the front tip is the fifth wheel hitch, which goes in the middle of the bed of the truck. So I don't know, it's about another 12 feet on top of that. So it's a little over 40 feet from the front grill of the truck to the back of the trailer.
That'd be great driving up Main Street. Wow.
You do kind of get used to it, but it's I thought the driving down the highway at highway speeds would bother me most. Turns out that driving in the tight quarters of a town bother me even more.
Oh, yeah.
So going down the highway is not the problem.
Yeah, because then you just pretty much go. You can put on cruise control and.
Yeah, getting to where we are right now it's Hunting Island State Park, if you want to Google that, and it's to get onto the island from the next island. There's this bridge that they must have saved a buck or two to make it that narrow. It is actually a 2-lane bridge, although it's one that you think they should really put lights at either end and have only one traffic direction at a time.
Oh, man.
Because driving across there just with the truck, let alone the trailer, is nerve-wracking.
Yeah, so, great logic.
Do you have any photo projects, like specific goals that you want to do on the way, or do you have any photo projects that are based around your trip, like portraits of people that you randomly run into or help you out, or things like that?
Well, I've been toying with that idea. I haven't really, portrait photography is not exactly my forte. But I've kind of toyed with that idea. Right now, I hadn't given it too much thought. I've just been so focused on getting the trip started and getting on the road, and so far wandering out there with my camera, everything has been, at least here, has been about the wildlife, because it's a state park and a wildlife refuge. Mm-hmm. So there's just tons of birds. So that's what I've been doing most so far. Although, once we start heading to different parts and continuing on the journey, I do want to do a lot more landscape work.
Okay, so it's mainly a landscape and wildlife trip. Now, is this trip like? I know some people when they go for drives and they see something beautiful and they want to pull over and take a picture of it, their spouses aren't participating.
I don't know anybody like that. What are you talking about? I have no idea. Who would be that way?
For this trip, that it's the RV is really just a moving tripod for your camera.
I have to tell Molly this. They're calling the RV a camera bag with wheels
and a moving tripod.
Yeah, and a moving tripod. Fortunately, my wife is very understanding of my habit. She's very indulgent, and and she took on a project of her own where she likes taking pictures of me taking pictures. So whenever I'm out there and I'm setting up the tripod and one with her camera, her pocket camera, and sort of getting pictures of me setting up and doing what I'm doing.
Those will be the photos that you're going to
try not to pay attention.
Yeah, but those will be the ones that you appreciate the most. And, yeah. Well, maybe not the most, but be very cool. I love the behind the scenes.
A lot of it though, when you're traveling like this, it's not like traveling in a car. If I'm driving around in Ontario and I just had my car and I see something cool, I could quickly pull over to the shoulder of the road, get out, get my gear, and go take pictures. Assuming you had the time, right? Mm-hmm. On a trip like this, you're driving down the highway with about 40 feet of weighing 10,000 pounds, and you're not going to pull over on the shoulder and for fear that's a soft shoulder. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to ignore stuff when you're driving.
Well, when you're going from A to B, but once you
go from A to B, yeah,
that's where you detach and you can do your day trips, right?
And then, exactly, research to say, okay, here's my base for the next 4 days. Now, what can I go see in this 4 days? Yeah. Or 2 days or 1 day or whatever it is. Most of the one-day stays are because we're just trying to get somewhere. So you can stay overnight in one spot, right? But we don't really like driving for more than a few hours at a time. Mm-hmm. So, we're trying to plan it so that our next stop is no more than, say, 3 hours down the road.
That's pretty cool.
So we did join a group. It's a website called Harvest Hosts, which is pretty cool.
Sorry, can you repeat it? It kind of cut out for a sec.
It said we joined this thing online called Harvest Hosts.
Harvest Hosts, okay.
Yeah, and what they are is it's a website that has all of these hosts that are they're either wineries or farms or various other type things like that. They've got something for sale typically, and they have space. So as an RVer, you can go in. It doesn't cost you anything to spend the night. There's no hookups. You have to be self-sufficient. And then typically, if it's a winery, you're buying a bottle of wine, or if it's a farm, like we stayed at one and we bought some sausages and eggs and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So, yeah, it's really neat. And they, you join. It's only $40 a year, and you get the directory that's all over the U.S. and Canada.
Right.
So
and you get to find somebody local. Maybe my wife and whoever we're traveling with always end up laughing at me because no matter where we stop for a couple of seconds, I always end up talking to somebody there for half an hour because it's amazing. Just 2 hours down the road, how different their life is there than it is, where I live, and it's fascinating to get people's life story and what they're kind of doing in that area, and then traveling down through the States. It's a whole other mindset down there, as we were talking about before the show, which we won't go into now.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, I will share one story. It isn't what we were talking about before the show, but so we were in this place called Buck Hall, which is a recreation area north of Charleston in North Carolina. And I was out with my camera one day wandering around, and there's a fishing pier and I saw this older man and his two grandsons, and they were fishing. So I stopped to chat with them for a while, and I was sharing stories with this guy, and he's telling me that this is his two grandsons, and he was teaching them how to fish and all that stuff. And anyway, up the way, we heard all this. This was the American Thanksgiving that weekend. So up the river, we heard all this gunfire going on. It was just like bang, and we all jumped, and then a few minutes later, there's another bang, and we're looking at it, and one of the kids says, "I wonder what they're shooting at," and I said, "I don't know, maybe turkeys," and the old guy goes, "Well, the turkeys are standing on the dock."
It's a different world.
It's a different armed world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you're packing for that trip, and being photographers, we don't care about clothing, we care about lenses. Are you like bring them all, or are you trying to be conservative with your selections?
Well, everything's in the trailer. Of course, as you said, it's a rolling camera bag. But so everything's in the trailer. When I go out for the day, it really depends on where I'm going. If I'm walking around, like last weekend, we visited Savannah, Georgia, and went for a walk, an entire day walking around the town. And so I stuck one camera on the lens and attached it to my hip, and away I went. That's what you need to do. Being here in this state park, and I'm going out, and there's a little lagoon down the way where I spend, a couple hours every day photographing herons and egrets and things like that. For that, I've got, the big new lens that Bryan sold me, and the tripod and all that gear. So,
how's it working out, by the way?
Well, it's a challenge. You certainly don't hold that sucker for very long.
No.
And I do find that I only have one head for my tripod. I have a ball head, and trying to balance a lens that large on top of a ball is not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, I probably should have got you to pick up a gimbal head or something.
Yeah, I am going to need to do that.
Yeah.
One day soon. So that would make life a whole lot easier.
You're not getting in anywhere around New York, are you?
Not on this trip, no.
Okay.
Like I said, we boogied south to get down to South Carolina down here, and then, we're going to spend the rest of our winter in the warm.
Nice. Good
Thank
for you.
Very much.
As it should be. As it should be. Now, I was just thinking you'd stop by B&H or something, pick up a gimbal, but if you need it, I'm sure there's camera stores there. It's okay, Glenn. I won't be offended.
Well, I am coming back for Christmas, Bryan. If you have any Christmas sales going on.
Yeah, there might be one or two, but we'll worry about that down the road. Anyway, awesome. So, good questions here, bro. I want to find out more about what you've learned on the trip as far as photography. You say you're in the Arcanum. I am as well. I think it's probably a good idea to talk about that a little bit and maybe clarify what your road trip means to your progress in the Arcanum.
Well, I started that journey back in about April, and was doing fairly well until I don't know, August or so, and then really because we were purging and packing and getting ready for this trip, I kind of had to let everything languish. So I haven't had a critique review in months. Matter of fact, my Arcanum master was sending me emails saying, hey, Glenn, have you fallen off the face of the earth? So,
well, at least they're proactive.
Yeah, I had to tell him what I was up to and everything else. And he lives in near Sacramento, California. So when we're out that far, I do plan on meeting up with him and doing a few sort of photo trips. Awesome. He promises to take me out somewhere around where he lives. So that'll be fun.
That's the best. I think that's one of the things that interested me about the Arcanum originally, when they were promoting it with the Google Glass, and you could just be walking down the street, you could say, "There's Glenn, level so and so, and here's Bryan." It pops up over their head in the Google Glass. So here you are doing that. That's pretty sweet. I mean, aside from Google.
Yeah, it was a neat idea. We've got a few members of my cohort that are spread around the country that I'll try to meet up with as we get there. There's one woman who's right near the sort of Mississippi Delta over to New Orleans and that stretch. So we'll go through there. Another guy lives in Washington State, and he actually says he owns a truck and a trailer himself. So he said, when you get up this far, let me know, and we'll go do some camping. So
very cool. But as far as the photography goes, are you working toward anything for the Arcanum? Are you trying to compile your photos for the review and things like that, trying to take advantage of those opportunities?
Yeah, right now the photos that I've been doing this last 2 weeks, I've been picking the best and putting it in my level 8 album. And so, as you know, Bryan, at level 9 there's another critique.
Yeah.
So I have to get prepped for that, and I'm hoping to do that in relatively short order. I mean, I've been far too many months getting through the first 20 levels. It's,
you and me both.
Typically the Arcanum is designed that you could be 3 to 6 months doing the first 20 levels. But having a 4-month hiatus doesn't really help. So. Hey,
I'm about a year in so far, so
yeah.
I'm level 12 right now, so yeah.
I heard of it. I can't remember the name of it, but there's an online university program where you can go and learn code and stuff like that. And it's supposed to be a pretty good program. It's about $200 a month, but what they do is if you pass within a year, and it's completely designed that you can easily pass within a year, but if you do all your exams and pass within a year, they give you half your tuition back. So that might be an idea, although it depends on the strategy. Like, they're designed to get people educated. The Arcanum could be kind of like a gym. It's like, the gym has 18,000 people sign up in January, has 12,000 people there in February, and has 8 people there in March. But they're still paying the monthly fee. So that might be the Arcanum.
Well, there's a lot of that. There are a lot of people, I'm sure.
I can't imagine, like, with a gym, you're not really paying monthly, do you? I mean, it's been so many years.
Yeah.
But don't you just pay for it all up front? So that's where your gym membership
No, most of them are like the last 3 gyms that I've belonged to. They were all monthly fees. Okay. It's a year contract, but you pay monthly for it.
I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that there are people in. Now, I'm only familiar with my cohort and not others, but there are people there that you don't hear from as much, and I was one of them for several months. And given that I knew that I wanted to continue once we got our trip started, I didn't quit. I wanted to stay in, so you just kind of put up with that. But there's the group it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of really good people and a lot of really good back and forth input and everything. So, and I'm learning a ton from, we have one guy in our cohort whose specialty is night sky photography. He does this phenomenal work with Milky Way photos, and it's just unreal. So everyone else tries to do some of those, and then has to sort of, bow to the knee of Matt as he explains what he did wrong.
I have no clue what that's like. There's one person in my cohort who takes pictures of snowflakes, and everybody else takes pictures of snowflakes.
Snowflakes?
Who could that be?
Weird.
Anyway, no, that's awesome, and I'm glad that it's challenging you to try harder, and I think that's the whole concept of the Arcanum, is to challenge you to put a little pressure on you to say, get off your butt and get some of this done, but getting it done is the fun and the learning, and that's what I like about it. But other than that, on your adventure, what are your future plans? Where are some places that you're really looking forward to getting to?
Okay, so we we came to the southeast here just sort of before Christmas. Our plan is to drop off the trailer at some sort of storage and come back for Christmas briefly with family, just with the truck though. And then when we come back south and pick up the trailer, we're going to head to the Florida Panhandle Gulf Coast.
Nice.
And then probably follow that Gulf Coast westward. So we can go through the various states, go and see New Orleans. It's one of the cities. We don't actually have that many cities that are on our agenda. New Orleans is one of them. San Francisco is another. Certainly Savannah was never on my list, but I got to tell you, having been there, Savannah's pretty cool. And it would be a really neat place to spend a weekend. So if you ever have the opportunity, put it on your list.
Okay. Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia. So when we leave here on Friday, we're actually going to spend Friday night there because they had a really cool Cuban restaurant with a live jazz band, and we went in too late, so we only got to hear 2 songs. But we're going to go back on Friday night. Oh, and as Molly just reminded me, they have a Monet and American Impressionism exhibit at a museum there. So we're going to take that in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not huge into art, but there's some art you just have to see if it's there.
Well, you know, it's a strange story about that. About two years ago, yeah, we decided to do a weekend in Chicago, and so we flew to or drove over to Buffalo, and then flew to Chicago. And while we were in Chicago, I think it was the Contemporary Art Museum or Art Museum of Chicago or whatever it's called, we realized they were having an Impressionism exhibit. And so I'm sitting in my hotel room on the one night, and I was reading one of, I think it was Photograph magazine from Craft and Vision on my iPad. And there was this article talking about studying the masters. So if you want to learn about light and learn and you know, do that study for your photography, that studying the masters' paintings would be worthwhile. And the example that this guy gave was Monet's studies of haystacks. Have you ever seen those photos?
No.
And apparently he did dozens of photos of paintings of these haystacks. He's got summer scenes, autumn scenes, winter scenes, you name it. They're all haystacks, different times of day, different lighting conditions, whatever. And it was his way of studying light, was to just do these paintings over and over and over again of what haystacks would look like in different lighting conditions. And so that was the example. So the next day we got up and we went to the museum and found out while we were in there that there was this Monet exhibit in this one room, and we walked in there, and here's an entire wall filled with these haystack images. And it was, it was quite breathtaking to have read about it the night before, and then all of a sudden be faced with the real paintings right there.
That's really
Is
cool.
that when you walk in and you go, hey!
I felt educated, like I could actually speak intelligently about what I was looking at.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so you've talked about San Francisco. What do you plan on doing there?
Putting flowers in
Okay,
your
so we talked about going
What's that,
to the
Phil?
Gulf Coast.
hair?
My
I said putting
dad,
flowers in your hair?
yeah,
Oh,
right.
jeez.
Oh, dear. Sorry. Terrible.
Had to
We
go there.
talked about
Yes.
going along the Gulf Coast past New Orleans. We plan on spending a lot of time in around New Mexico, Arizona, North Texas, that part of the world.
Okay.
My dad actually spends his winters down in the south end of Texas, so we're going to drop by and visit for a day or two. And then, but up around Grand Canyon, there's Monument Valley. There's so many places in Arizona that I'd like to go to.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Sorry.
Bless you.
There's Bosque de
There was a
la
mute
Pache.
button.
Yeah.
Put it for me to mute.
Sorry, what was that, Glenn?
So no, I just said there's numerous places for landscape and wildlife work that I'd like to go to in New Mexico and Arizona. So, you know, we're planning to spend a bunch of time there and then venture into California. I do have a couple friends there to visit and see some of the, you know, around San Francisco, and maybe actually get an image of my own of the Golden Gate Bridge and that sort of thing. And when the spring comes on, we'll be going up the West Coast and crossing into BC probably in, I don't know, May, early May, mid-May, something like that. Depends on the weather.
So this was an 8-month trip or so, right?
It's 8 months, yeah. We will probably be, because like I said, in June my daughter's graduating from university, so we'll be visiting her in Edmonton and then traveling back across the prairies and back into Ontario. So we would be in Ontario in, say, July.
Very cool. Very cool.
Right.
So we're going to get some updates from you from some of these places, right? As you go, you're going to share some photos with the community and let us know what you're up to and some of the cool shots.
Absolutely, anytime.
Cool. Well, how about right now?
Yep.
Why don't you share a couple of the photos from your trip with us right now, if you could, if you have any ready.
All right. Yeah. No, I've got my little South Carolina folder here.
Cool.
So,
by the way, I should let people who are watching know that you do have your blog site, right? And you were telling me the backstory of the name of the site.
Yes, so the blog site for our trip is thefisbers.ca. My wife's last name is Fisher and mine is Hubbers, and I think it might have been my daughter claims it was her actually that came up with this years ago, and where she said she needed a family name because, you know, to differentiate from her mother and her husband. So
you're the Fisbers.
The Fisbers.
Fisbers.
Yeah, Fisbers. I like that.
Yeah. So it's thefisbers.ca is the blog, and then I've always had my URL just hubbers.ca. So if you go to portfolio.hubbers.ca, you'll see a growing group of galleries as we go through different states and sites and what have you.
Very cool.
So these sites are both very much in development. I've just started building them, so, you know, if anything doesn't work, don't shoot the messenger. So.
Well, it's understandable. You're in the middle of a road trip all around the states. So
yeah, we got some nice wildlife.
Yeah. So this image is in Myrtle Beach. We just did a short walk on the beach, and I saw this seagull that didn't seem too afraid of me. So. I wanted to take a shot to prove I was there. So then this was that Buck Hall recreation area that I was talking about. The water you see in the foreground is they call it the intracoastal waterway. It goes all the way down through South Carolina and the north part of the Georgia coast. And it was used for a lot of goods transportation and what have you. For years. Yeah.
So do you have, when you're going on a trip like this, do you have like a MacBook Pro or something that you're using for editing on the road?
Yes, I have my MacBook Pro, and I have to say that right now I'm shopping for some sort of input device, because I used to have an iMac and I had a mouse. That's what I used. And with selling the iMac, away went with the mouse. And so now I just have this touchpad on the MacBook Pro, and trying to edit photographs is challenging, to say the least. So some of these images.
That's I use the trackpad too. Well, no, I've tried the tablets and stuff like that. I just don't work with them very well, so I end up just using the trackpad.
It's a learning curve. You have to, like when I first got my Wacom tablet, I kind of used it for a couple of weeks on and off, and then said, nope, this isn't for me. And then I was listening to a podcast, and the person said, put your mouse in a drawer, and dedicate to use nothing but your Wacom tablet for 1 week straight. And I guarantee by the time you're done that week, you will use nothing else. And they were right.
Well, it forces you to actually use it, like get out of your comfort zone and just practice with it.
Yeah, and then you become so accustomed to it. It's such a great input device that you just become addicted to it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I just haven't bought one yet. So, but honestly, I've been learning a lot, and probably my biggest thing with the Arcanum education, Brian, is what I'm getting in terms of Photoshop and photo editing. But right now, with the with a lack of an input device, I'm sitting here trying to do fine masking detail with my finger. It's just not working.
Maybe that's why I'm so bad at doing that. Yeah.
I don't know why I can't get it too detailed. Using like a club as an input device.
So that last photo the photos.
Anyway,
that last shot that you were showing us with the driftwood and that. Where was that? Myrtle Beach.
That is right out just about, I don't know, a few hundred feet down the beach.
Nice.
There is an odd place down here on Hunting Island where it seems like all of the... We actually can't explain what happened. Molly and I keep looking at it and going, what is actually going on here? Because there's all of these trees that were either deposited on the beach or it used to be a forest that now is washed away and the trees are still there. But there's just this pile of wood, but some of them are still standing upright. So you'll see this tree just growing out of the sand. And when the tide comes in, the tree's like in 6 feet of water.
Now, it's a dead tree, or is it living?
No, they're all dead trees.
Okay.
Yeah, and they all have barnacles on them, so they've been there a while.
Huh. Oh, that's a great shot.
So that one actually, I have re-edited this photo now. See, again, here's an opportunity where I got this photo. I edited this purely in Lightroom for what you're seeing. And then I went through and I re-edited this using a technique that I learned from my Arcanum master, and I think did a vastly better job. If I can see if I can quickly pull that up.
Yeah, that's some of the things that I absolutely love about it. And it's funny. Don says he's losing his sanity one snowflake at a time. And here's an editing master, and having these resources is so valuable. It's one thing to be able to, take some classes online or, take some of the Henry's classes on how to edit. But when you get some of these guys who are true masters of their craft, the things you learn is just, you can't explain it.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to tell a quick story. Funny thing. For those of you who remember way back, I did a Scott Kilby training thing with Ben Wilmore in Toronto, and I was so impressed with the fact that when we left the training, we were on the train home, and we all basically said, what was he talking about? We were so confused. So I turned to Ross, and I was like, Ross, how are we going to learn how to do all this stuff that he taught us? I mean, we're so confused with this. And Ross was like, I don't know. So anyway, I Facebooked Ben Wilmore, and he came on to a hangout through Google+. We did a hangout with some of the people who went from the Camera Club, and Ben Wilmore, and he showed up, and we did this great hour and a half, 2-hour hangout online with this guy who teaches for Scott Kelby. So super, super cool, right? Today, I get a text from my mother. She was at the Ben Wilmore session down in Florida.
Nice.
Ben remembered me. He remembered the whole story, and
cool.
Since chatted with my mom and myself on Facebook, and it's so cool.
Such a small world.
I know, it really is. And he's just such a great editor, so it was kind of like came to my head. Sorry, Glenn. Go ahead.
That's okay. Can you see this one? This is the re-edit.
We just see like a thumbnail in your Finder window.
Oh. Here.
Hit spacebar.
You might be sharing the wrong window.
Yeah, sometimes you may be sharing the window, not the screen.
Yeah, hang on.
You click, yeah.
I'm having a hard time getting my there. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably a bit of a lag with the Wi-Fi.
I open it up in preview. So.
Oh yeah, I find it's easier that way. Okay, that's the edit.
I thought it was a bird.
Sorry?
Oh dear, poor baby.
I have
Did
no
she just
idea
beat
what
up your
that.
cat?
No, I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, so looking at the new photo,
Yeah.
this is the new edit. A lot less
Yeah.
grain.
Well, there's a lot less green, a lot less noise. There also, I found that I had a lot of haloing around that stump that in the first version that I got rid of in the second version. So I did this one with luminosity masking. So I don't know if you ever played with that. But
I know a lot of the folks in the camera club have. Stephanie and Isabel, they've done a lot with that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that was that one, and then just a couple more, if I can get back to it. Come on.
So did you ever find out what Molly was freaking out about over there?
Something about the neighbor's dog.
Oh.
So,
oh, wow.
yeah, these guys basically were walking around the park, and they came. One of them came. We thought it was going to eat right out of Molly's hand, but it didn't come quite that close. So
beautiful.
There was a whole group of about 7 of these deer.
Nice.
So then there's a lot of there's a lagoon here with a lot of these egrets that are just.
In that last photo, I love the way the egret's wings, that one there, yeah, how it was bordering the other one in the back.
Yeah, I almost wish it was like slightly more separation, but you know.
With the beak a little bit.
6 frames a second isn't fast enough sometimes, Brian.
That's actually true. Trust me, I know that. I think we both need to get a D4S, Glenn. I think we deserve it. We deserve it.
Yeah, that'll be on my Christmas list.
Or the D5 apparently is coming out. So.
Or the 7D Mark II.
No.
This is a good one.
we can't step down. We can't step down, Gabriel.
I don't know. All those lenses twist the wrong way. I don't know what you do with that.
It's true. It's so true.
It is backwards.
So go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah. So this is a lighthouse over at Hunting Island here. And the history here is that this lighthouse was built in the early 1800s. It was destroyed during the Civil War. And then they rebuilt it, and all of what you see there are rings of cast iron because they wanted it to be movable. So they built it out of these rings of cast iron and stacked them up, and there you have your lighthouse. And apparently they did move it once because the shore was further inland. But they only ever moved it once.
That doesn't sound like it'd be a lot of fun.
No. The forests here, now I don't have a picture of I don't know if I do or not. The forests are an interesting mix of, I want to say pine trees, but they don't actually look like pine trees. Because if you look up at them, they look big and bushy like deciduous trees when you're looking from a distance. But they're just these long, about 8-inch long needles.
Huh.
So there's some kind of evergreenish tree. I don't really know trees. So it's a mix of magnolia trees, these pine trees, for lack of a better term, and palm trees. So if you can picture those all in one place, that's where I'm camped in. So
how long are you staying where you are right now?
We're staying till Friday.
Okay.
And then we're going in search of a park that has laundry facilities.
Nice. Yeah. This probably do, eh?
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
So I
hope you get.
This is the start of what I did today, actually.
Sorry, go ahead.
These last couple are from today.
Nice.
Beautiful stuff.
Oh, that guy was posing for me.
I think I saw that guy in Mackenzie Marsh. I think he traveled pretty far there.
Yeah. So, and then that's the last one.
That's nice.
Nice stuff.
That Brian was trying to follow a flying egret. That's a great egret. With the 150 to 600 balanced on top of a ball head. So
It's pretty good.
Wow. Well, I mean, just the detail even in the back legs, and you did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad you're loving it, Glenn. I'm glad you guys are having a great time. I really, really appreciate you taking your time and being with us tonight, and I can't wait to see what you shoot in your next stop, and your next stop, and your next stop, and so on. What an adventure, and I can't wait to see where you go, man. That's awesome.
Well, it's going to be awesome, and like I say, we don't have too much of an agenda. We're making this up as we go, which is all part of the plan. So
That seems like the best way to do it.
Call it unplanning, if you will.
And the
Well,
best
we're all
part,
living vicariously through you.
yeah, absolutely. And speaking of living vicariously, dude, that is quite a sweater. I should be wearing that sweater.
I was noticing that, actually.
It's quite fanciful.
What does
I
that
got-
say?
Well, no, we're going to an ugly Christmas sweater party on Christmas Eve, and so I was walking through the mall today. I saw this one online. I didn't think there's any way I'd be able to find it here. So it says naughty, and then it has the reindeer
Oh no.
getting to know each other.
Oh, no. That
That's
is
awesome.
sacrilegious.
I saw it. I'm like,
You're-
dude, I don't care how much it costs. I need this now in my life. Up until this year, I've been a bit of a Christmas curmudgeon, and I've decided that there's really nothing I can do to stop it from coming year after year, so I might as well enjoy it. But I'm going to enjoy it my way.
Nice. Shelly is not going to ever want to
That's
see
awesome.
that, by the way. Shelly would cry if she saw that. Anyway, here she is. Hi, Shell.
So show her the sweater.
I think you should.
Gabriel's sweater. He's got a Christmas sweater. Here, look. With reindeer. It says naughty and...
Oh my god, I want that!
What?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, reindeer having sex show.
See?
What?
Upon closer investigation.
That was awesome.
He gets no cookies.
He gets no cookies. You're doomed. There you go.
Telling Santa.
And she's telling Santa. All right, that was fun. Sorry, sidetrack. Squirrel or reindeer.
Yeah.
There's her little Santa hat she wears at work. She wears it on her head, kind of like this.
It fits with him at the North Pole.
Okay, so that was pretty much it for us tonight. Glenn, thank you so much. Gabe, thank you for sharing. And Phil, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I've been a little quiet this episode, but
Yeah.
more I want to listen to kind of his adventure. And now I feel like planning an adventure of some sort.
Well, hopefully that's what we all feel. And I think ultimately the point of why we have Glenn on the show and the follow-up photos that we're going to see is just to remind everybody that we have to live. We have to get out there and do what we love to do while we can still enjoy it, have a great time doing it, and then share with the community all the amazing images that we make. So, Glenn, good on you, my friend. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight, as I've already thanked you 400 times. And I can't wait to see what you've got coming up next.
And
It'll
good
be
for you
exciting.
for getting out and doing it.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
There's a lot of people that, have a bucket list that never gets fulfilled. And just, one of my wife's closest friends, who's been kind of a second mother to her since she moved to Canada, and her mother lives in Scotland, just got told she's got 4 months.
Oh, no.
And if there's anything on her bucket list, she, doesn't have time to do it, right? So it's, live and do it while you can, because you never know when that clock's going to run out.
That was so sad.
You're great at bringing everything down to like a really...
I know.
You can look at it that way, Brian, or you can look at it as inspirational to say just what Gabriel said. I agree with completely.
I totally
Yeah,
agree with
do
it. Totally agree with it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So keep out there, be safe, drive safe. Say hi to Molly.
And have an adventure.
Adventure on.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you so much to you, to Gabriel, to Phil, for everybody for being on the show tonight. Had a great time doing it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed the show. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us. I'm Bryan at daytripperphoto.com, Bryan with the Y in. Phil, how can folks get a hold of you?
Get in touch with me on Google+. Alternatively, well, actually, Google+ would be the best way to do it right now.
There you go.
Or you can email my first name, last name at... Actually, no, I got one. Hold on.
A first and last name? I hope you do.
No, Google+ is the best way to do it right now.
All right, cool. Gabriel, where can folks hire you so they can look at your amazing sweater?
They can look at my amazing sweater and hear my inspirational quotes or, life-shattering, depressing tidbits at bousquetphotography.ca.
All right, cool.
Bousquet is like bouquet, but with an S.
And Glenn, of course, one more time, you have the Fizzbers.ca.
Thefizbers.ca and
Can you spell that?
Hubbers.ca.
FISBERS.ca.
But
I've got it open right in front of me. That's how I can read it.
include the in it. And yeah. And then Hubbers.ca is where I'm putting a lot of my photos, and of course you can always link up with me on either Facebook or Google+.
Very cool. Now, before we actually disappear for tonight, I just want to do our quote and remind everybody that the current photo challenge, which is going to be going on into the new year, you've got lots of time to do the photo challenge. We have all topic shows coming up, and with Christmas around the corner, next week I'm working till 9 o'clock. We got the show at 9:30, so hopefully it'll all work out. But if it doesn't, take your time. Make your photos. We have 2 photo challenges for you. The first photo challenge is #family, and the second would be #winter scene. Glenn, I don't think you'll be able to submit any photos for winter scene.
You never know.
You never know. I am coming back for Christmas, Bryan.
True. Yes, I forgot about that again. Okay, so yeah, that could be cool. And the quote of the show is, "Adventure may hurt you, but monotony can kill you."
There you go.
I like that.
Hey, on that note, I mentioned it a while ago, but registrations for Tough Mudder 2016 opened up yesterday. It's in September of 2016. I'm trying to get a team together. So if there's any listeners that are interested in doing it, hook me up. I'm going to start up a Facebook community. I have a training program and diet program and everything all worked out. And we got 9 months to train, and you can do anything in 9 months. So
good for you, man. And by the way, congratulations on your 4-mile run.
Yeah, I saw that.
Thank you. Yeah,
that is 4 miles farther than I run normally.
Yeah, but you bike for like 25 miles or something.
I haven't done that in a little bit. It's gotten cold.
Well, good for you, Gabriel. And Glenn, have a great time. Phil, get on your bike. And for me, everybody, love you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
That was good. Good night.
Be naughty.